It's not your job to change people. We typically want to change people because we want them to fit some idea we have about how they should be, and it's usually in relation to us getting something that we want personally. So it's very selfish when we dig into our reasons as to why we want people to change. And although we can actually have valid points to, like, this person should change and be more like this because it can help them like with X, Y, and Z. Although we might actually have truth in what we're saying, the entire attitude of like trying to change people is already false. Living life in that way is already an error. That's already just a mistake. Even if you think that this person should change and do this because it can help them with X, Y, and Z, right? If that's not genuine to the person, it's just, first of all, even if they do change, it's not going to work long term. They'll probably resent you for it. And it's going to be very uncomfortable for you and the other person because it's just a lie. Like, what's going on isn't genuine, it's not authentic, it's not based off of what you guys truly want, who you guys truly are. So trying to get people to change is a losing battle. And especially when you're doing personal growth and when you get really advanced into consciousness work, it can really, like, I used to really want some people in my life to change so I could feel more supported by them or like understood, or just feel, like they can help me more. And it's just very selfish motives. And when you get into consciousness work pretty deeply and you see how much sickness exists in the world and how so much can be better if we changed, it's easy to fall into the trap of just wanting to change people or even trying to change people. But it doesn't really work. You really have to you have to learn the skill of appreciating and really respecting their individual journey, like their soul's journey, their personal journey, their human's journey. And you just gotta kind of trust that. You gotta trust in the sort of underlying dynamics of life. Trust in the unfoldment of life. So when you're doing a lot of personal growth and consciousness work, right, it's like you can really come across some great things that really change your life and make so much things better for you. And some people just aren't ready for that. And you just have to just respect that. You have to respect the rate at which people can evolve and change individually and collectively, like on a societal level. You just have to respect people based on where they're at and give them permission to be who they are, even if it doesn't serve you directly. And even if they have like a pretty, even if it's like a significant relationship in your life, you just really have to respect where they are at and who they are and what they can see and what's in their awareness. And our mind plays this delusion like we know it all, or like we know what's right, we know what's true, we know how people should be, and we really don't. Basically everything in the universe is a complete mystery to us, including like anything in your experience. You basically have no idea what anything is, what it's made out of, how it got here, whatever. So just taking the attitude of not knowing and just respecting their journey is just like there's an energy to that of just wisdom, right? It's like you don't force the change, you don't force something to happen, you let change occur organically. And you can help people to change, you can offer guidance and support, when you're asked, or sometimes when it's like instinctually and intuitively right. But there's a major difference between like some support, some guidance, versus like trying to get people to be a specific way, in a way that like very fundamentally alters their personality or who they are or how they're living their lives or things like that. It's like these are big changes that don't just happen overnight, and change is already hard for people. Change is often very counterintuitive. We can have a lot of resistance to change. Like I coach a lot of people, and just some examples, like when I'm trying to get people to start meditating, there's a lot of resistance to them even just like beginning the practice or putting their phone away, like breaking some of their coping mechanisms for repressed emotions. And there's resistance to like doing exercises. There's resistance, so much resistance to like really going inward and changing. And really we tend to just act like children in a lot of ways when things trigger us and when things don't go our way, right? The higher aspects of us get overridden by other parts of us, by lower parts of us. Just keep it like that for now, right? In the same way that it does in children when they don't get what they want for Christmas or they don't get what they want now, right? It's like when things don't go our way, when people even call us out, they call out our shadow or mistakes that we make, or it's easy for us to just really get super defensive. And just got to make this distinction. There's a big difference between calling out someone's mistakes and being very critical of them. This is totally different. You can actually help people correct mistakes in a very loving and supportive way, and in a way that helps them to grow. And you can allow people to make mistakes because mistakes are normal, right? You can change your relationship to mistakes, and you can just allow them to exist and allow yourself to make them, allow others to make them, allow them to learn, and no big deal, right? Or you can get very critical and mad and like it has to be perfect. So your attitude and your relationship to it matters. So you got to practice compassion for people and just practice understanding where they're coming from. You have to understand their consciousness. You have to understand their worldview. You have to understand their patterns, their triggers, their values, their sense of identity. And when it comes to people in your life, let's say a significant other, like a partner, if you need to continuously change them to be a way that they fundamentally aren't, it's probably not really going to work. And there's going to be a lot of pain in that relationship. And potentially you can probably make it work. Maybe, I don't know. But the thing is if you follow this one principle, you'll just have a lot more harmonious and easygoing relationships in your life. So let go. Let go and do what is authentic to you. And just see what happens. See what kind of people you attract in your life. Really call yourself out on what you're doing for approval and what you're doing for acceptance from other people versus what you're doing that's very genuine and authentic to you. And this can be kind of hard. This is going to be hard, right? This like reflective work can be very hard, especially if you've built up a life on certain things that aren't genuine to you, right? To go back and correct that and change that and start new in some kind of way, it's a lot, right? It's like we have to break out of patterns, change who we are. It's just a lot. So you can't force people to change in your life. Even with my videos, I'm talking about personal growth and making changes to yourself in ways that serve your evolution and raising your consciousness. Right? So Lucas, you're a hypocrite. You're trying to get us to change or something. But really, all I'm really doing is I'm just kind of doing things that I love. I love to share consciousness and personal growth, and right, if that helps people, awesome. If you don't like it, awesome. Go do something else. That's perfectly fine. You don't have to value it at all. You don't need to adopt my worldview at all. So by letting go and doing what is meaningful and authentic to you, you naturally attract people who resonate with you. You naturally attract people who are like good fits for you. You basically can align yourself with the right people simply based off the one principle of just like letting go of needing to control people, doing what's genuine for you, and seeing who enters your life, seeing what kind of people the universe kind of puts into your experience, what kind of people you start to meet, what kind of people you just come across in pretty mysterious ways. And it's hard, man. It's hard. It's so hard. We have so many limiting beliefs and shadows and traumas, and especially just as you're doing your own growth, you're just going to outgrow relationships. That's just it's a very cold aspect of life, is just, people grow apart. But if you're really doing personal growth and you're raising your consciousness and significant people in your life aren't, you're going to feel the gap more and more and more. You're going to feel the difference in your consciousness over time more and more and more, and you're not going to be able to connect deeply, because the depth at which you can connect to another person is similar to the depth at which you can connect to yourself. So it's like, as you can just kind of connect to yourself deeper, you're not going to be interested in superficial things. It's just a natural consequence of it. The kinds of relationships you want in your life are going to be deeper and more meaningful. Right? Your relationships are going to reflect you and your own psychology quite a lot. And it takes a lot to let go of people, because we use each other to build up support systems and sense of community and belonging. It's for survival, right? And sometimes you just gotta let people go when they just don't align with you. You just gotta be really honest. Like, does this person actually align with me? And we might not even want to see that, because we can be dating someone for years and years and years, and it's like we don't agree on very fundamental things. Like, our values aren't aligned. What we want out of life isn't aligned. Where I'm going and where I really want to go is very different from this person. And right, what I'm saying is that if you actually have the courage to just let go, and you don't hold on out of pure fear and scarcity and lack, you'll attract people who are actually great fits for you. Right? If you talk to a lot of people who've been in a lot of relationships and they're actually wise, they'll say that a lot of their breakups are some of the best things that have ever happened to them. That, over time, like, it wouldn't have worked, and they just didn't want the same things. And it's really hard to let go of people. Like, we build up a sense of identity together. We just build up like this connection, and it wires us, and we connect in very instinctual, emotional, intuitive, psychological ways that aren't just based off reason and thought. And it wires into our being, right? Like, the connection wires into our circuitry, and we get attached. And to let things go is just so ungrounding. It just feel like the rug is being pulled out from beneath our feet, but sometimes that's just the wiser thing to do. Sometimes embracing the pain of that is much wiser than avoiding the pain of that. A lot of people stay in relationships, not because they even want to be in relationships, in the relationship that they're in, I mean, but because they just avoid the pain of losing it, right? And everyone has so much, just lack mentality and scarcity. Like, if I lose this relationship, there's not going to be anyone else, and even if your mind doesn't come up with that in a very obvious way, it can still be hidden below the surface. And you have certain behaviors and patterns that reinforce a belief like that you're not even aware of. You have all sorts of beliefs you're not even aware of, and that you can't even articulate to yourself. So changing people is just a losing battle. There's no point. Because even if you do change them, right, even if you do force a change out of them, it's just not going to work. It's just not who they are, and it doesn't feel right to force change onto people who aren't ready for it or who don't want it. You're just not respecting their autonomy. You don't respect them. Even if the change is good for them, if they're not ready for it and they can't handle it, it's just not time. There's a lot of changes people can make that are good for them, like changing their diet or exercising more, or getting a different job that they like more, or reevaluating the people who they hang out with. People can make all sorts of changes, and they would be very positive changes, but you can't force them to make the changes. They have to come to the realizations on their own, right? You can help people, you can guide them, you can support them, right? But you don't want to do it in this very unsolicited way, in this aggressive way, in this forceful way. And I promise that when you actually let go of people who really don't align with you, you will naturally attract people who do. And what kind of life do you want? Do you want an entire life of relationships full of people who don't really see you at your core and who don't really understand you? And there's certain things you can't even share with certain people because you're opening yourself up and you're making yourself vulnerable. And some people are critical, and they'll use that to manipulate you, even in subtle ways. You just don't have to put up with that, right? A common misconception that a lot of people think of when they think of like accepting people as they are, or like accepting the present moment, is that like whatever happens, like we just accept it in like this like way that is just tolerating BS, right? So accepting the present moment. Oh, that's a beautiful bird. Oh my God, that's gorgeous. Oh my God. Accepting people for who they are is very different from tolerating garbage in your life. You can accept the present moment, accept people, and like change things. Like you can accept that people are the way they are. That doesn't mean that you have to keep them in your life if it's not the best thing for you, if it's not healthy. You can accept the present moment as it is, but you know, it doesn't mean you can't change things. If you walk into your bathroom and you see a leaky pipe under the sink, you know, you accept this is like what life is at the moment. You don't struggle against it and you don't fight against it. But it doesn't mean you can't fix the sink. Like, no, like fix your pipe, man. There's a very big difference between like bringing acceptance to the problem that you face, right? Which also brings clarity and regulation and just health and well-being, versus like resisting it, fighting it, struggling against it, which just brings chaos and inner turmoil, right? These are two ways of going about life, and acceptance doesn't mean that you put up with garbage. Yeah. So really evaluate the kinds of people that you interact with often. Do they really see you at your depth? Do you really connect to them extremely deeply, right? And I want you to actually brainstorm some superficial reasons as to why you even have the relationships that you do, like for security, or just pure stability, or like fears or lack mentalities, because they're there, they exist inside of you. Just like, don't positive think them away. Just acknowledge that they exist inside of you, because you're a human, and survival is really difficult. Being a human is difficult and complex and messy. And just bring acceptance to those things. The acceptance is going to heal them over time. Positive thinking them away doesn't work. So why do you even try and change people? Really, really dig into it. What do you want out of people? What do you want out of your relationships that, you know, leads you to trying to change people? And does it ever work? Has it ever worked? Has trying to change someone in your life ever worked? It probably hasn't. And if it has, it's probably been very, very short term, and it's probably led to resentment and frustration and just a longer term failure. So that's it for this video. I'm offering one-to-one coaching. You can book a free call. Link is in the pinned comment and the description. Take it easy.